Greetings, welcome back to my channel. This is Stasia Bliss. We're talking about Kundalini embodiment and life force management practices. Welcome, I'm Stasia. I'm happy that you're here. Finally, we've got a little bit of sunshine back again. Yesterday was freezing, and even this morning it was so cold when I was coming back from yoga. So finally the sun has broken out, just in time for the summer solstice to come. I wanted to get on today and talk to you about initiatory levels of awakening. Initiatory levels of awakening. So let that sink in for a moment. Ponder, what does initiation mean to you? You might think of that in terms of like secret societies. Maybe that's coming to your mind. There's nothing really like that, except for the secret is that it's within yourself. The initiatory levels are within your own consciousness. So we're going to talk about that. I want to bring in a little bit about the solstice and remind you that we're going to go over the tarot major arcana archetypes as the solstice is coming in, and how these archetypes are parts of the awakening process. So it's a really great thing to look at and become familiar with. So we'll talk about that a little bit. And finally, I want to mention, what's the other thing? I don't know. We'll let it come in as we're going. So I often get on here and I'm not really sure what Spirit's going to hand me. This is my offering, so I have to also offer myself up to the moment and what wants to be spoken through. So I hope there's something here for you. I'm sure there is if you are here. So please just open up your ears to be receptive to what the message is for you. It might not be the whole message. Maybe there's just a few lines. Take what resonates as always, leave the rest. Let's go ahead and dive into the initiatory levels. So I kind of mentioned this the other day and it came up in a session today, so I wanted to make a video about it. This idea that, you know, we're going along and on our awakening journey and we've hit some difficulties, but then we've bounced back, we've figured out how to manage that, and we do some inner work on it. You know, maybe we do some yoga, or we do some shadow work, or we do some different techniques, and we're feeling like on top of the world again. We're feeling like we can do it. And then something comes, boom, hits you out of seemingly nowhere, and you seem to be down again. And as I mentioned in the last video, when I mentioned this process, I was talking about, boom, you get slammed back into old programs. So I wanted to extrapolate on that a little bit. What's happening is Spirit, your own awareness, is being very kind with you. Okay, it's being very kind and gentle with you. What's actually happening is an expansion of our consciousness has to fit into these forms. Okay, if we're not in these forms, it's easy because we are extended into all that is. But we have this brain and we have this body, and there's only a certain amount of information, data, that we can process and hold at any given moment. So the kindness of the awakening process, even though sometimes it doesn't feel kind, it is, in that as these valves of consciousness, and we've got all kinds of houses being worked on around here, so sorry for the noise. As the valves of consciousness are being opened to allow in more life force, this is your chakras, right? As they're dialing open through a variety of possible initiations themselves, could be a relationship, could be a health thing, could be a world condition, could be just a sudden awareness you had, something you read, meditation that you did, whatever it is that caused that dial to open. And you're flooded with more of this life force energy to now manage, okay, because we have to be able to hold it in our nervous system, in our bodies, in our minds. We have to be able to consciously manage that much, because remember, too much flow makes you feel kind of crazy. because you can't quite place everything, right? And too little is a little bit depressing. You feel like you got cut off, right, from spirit. So there is this sort of balancing act that's going on. And that's why the yoga practices like Nadi Shodhan and, you know, different physical postures and mantras and stuff can help, because that's increasing your body's capacity to hold more life force energy, right? So something happens, and it's kind of like, I hate this idea of testing, like that we're being tested, but it kind of is like this. Because, you know, think about school. If you're thinking about your life force, and the school of life, you know, is kind of like a university. I would always sing it like it's a university of self-worth to my kids. Planet Earth, it's a university of self-worth. So our self-worth kind of goes along with how well we're managing ourselves, right? So think about school. You learn some stuff, then you get a test on it. And if you didn't really learn it, you didn't really do well on the test. And you have to take it again, right? So life is kind of like that too. You get some experiences that come in and they're teaching you things. You're learning internally. Of course, you're your own teacher in this way. Maybe someone like me or other people, that we're a voice, we're reflecting to you what you innately already know. That's the only reason you're here. Something I'm saying resonates with something you know, and so you come back and you listen, because there's some part of you that's understanding and resonating and vibing with this. So you learn a thing, and we can learn things on various levels. You know, we can just listen and cognize and mentally get something, okay? But then there's like emotional resonance. Did we emotionally resonate? Say you're in a relationship, here's an example, and you know, your partner's saying, I didn't like what you did there, it made me feel this way, and you're like, yeah, okay, and you hear them, but you only hear them here. So then the same thing happens again, and because you didn't really digest it emotionally, you didn't really empathize and feel what they were feeling, you kind of don't remember, because you got a lot of things going on up here. You got the bills, you got other stuff you're studying, you know, maybe the kids or job or whatever, and so you just didn't quite lock it in. So then you have to go back over it again, and they're like, I can't believe you did this again. I already told you, you know, that hurts me. And maybe like after a few times, you're like, oh gosh, I'm really getting that this means something to you. So now you emotionally click in, right? So emotionally you click in, and you understand it on a little deeper level, okay? And so maybe the next time, maybe it happens again, but you're feeling that you did it. You're like, oh no, I did it wrong. Like before, you didn't really notice because it just kind of went out, but then you did it, and you felt it on your heart. So you're learning it on another level, but you still haven't completely learned it, because to completely learn and initiate beyond would mean that you actually wouldn't do the same thing again. You would have learned. Your consciousness would have absorbed that. You would have expanded your field to really hear what the other person's saying. You would have felt it. You would have got the bigger picture, and you would have changed. Something would have shifted in you. Oh, like, wow, this is what you're really saying. This is how you're wanting to feel, and you shift like that, okay? So then the relationship initiates to a new level. And you know, sometimes you have to go through big fights or arguments or breakdowns before the initiation occurs, because it has to really be driven home. So it's not a bad thing when we don't get it right away. You know, like sometimes it has to be driven home to us in a stronger, more powerful way. So we really feel it, we really experience it, and we really take the time out to ponder and look at. Okay, so when we hit these like turbulent things and we seem to get knocked off course, we're being put into like an emotional and a consciousness sort of pool or field where we're getting to really see and feel the texture of this thing that we're going through even more. So we really get the whole dynamic. And this is when our chakras come in, because they're psychic centers. I'm watching a spider. I really have a strange spider thing. So our psychic centers are actually, they're part of our psychology. They're part of our ability to understand things and to relate to the world. So as we're going through the sort of traumatic or maybe emotional or difficult time, we're learning in our body, we're learning in our cells, we're actually becoming conscious on a physical level too. So sometimes we have to like really go through a down period where we actually like have our face down to the ground. Sometimes I make a video with my face down on the ground in those moments, because those are the moments, like those are actually the moments that are the most impactful. And I made a joke in one video, like, how do you integrate your shadow? Only by falling on your face, right? Only by falling on your face do you really feel the impact of the thing you're wanting to change or the thing that's wanting to shift. So actually, we want to feel kind of out of sorts. We, on some level, want to experience this too. We want to experience being disconnected, because where we're really from, who we really are, is connected to everything. So part of the desire of this incarnation, this experience, is to feel disconnected sometimes, to feel upset sometimes, to feel sadness and crying and pain, because that's something our greatest self doesn't experience, funny enough. Even though we are everything, like, we come into these bodies to have these experiences. So when we remember that and we're in those moments, then we can really be like, oh yeah, I came for this. My favorite mantra is, this too is bliss. This pain, this crying, this heartache, this pain in my back, this too is bliss. And I'm having this mug made right now that has bliss with a big B on one side and bliss with a little b on the other side, and it looks just like a definition. I'm going to have it at the Energy Conference here in Salt Lake. If you're going to be around at the Mountain America Center, it's actually Sandy, Utah, on the 28th and 29th of this month. I'm going to be there in a booth with my dear friend, the Thought Coach. So we're going to be sharing a booth there. And the mug is with a little b, bliss, this adjective of a, ecstatic moment that is short-lived and that you crash from, or some like regular definition of bliss. And then bliss with a big B, which I talk about in my book, The Chocolate Fast, Embracing Your Bliss One Truffle at a Time, which you can find on Amazon. Bliss with a big B is a state of being. It's the acknowledgement that you are always encompassed in this field of bliss, and that everything you experience lives within that field. So if you can remember this, then all of it is part of the experience we came for. All of it is part of the bliss field. And this, it's just our polarity, our dualistic world thinking of saying this is bad, this is good, this separating, compartmentalizing of life that has caused us so much pain and suffering. Because actually, what if you could enjoy crying? Some of you will be like, well, I do enjoy crying. What if you could enjoy feeling upset? What if you could enjoy feeling disconnected? Not as a place you want to stay forever, but as an experience. As an experience. So that's why this tarot journey will be so fun, because, if you don't know anything about the tarot, there are cards like the Devil and the Tower and Judgment. Judgment's a great card. And a lot of cards where people are like, oh, the Death card, scary. I don't want to have that card. I don't want that experience. Our whole mental health field is built around emotions we don't want to have and we think are bad. So the embodiment of Kundalini, of life force, is acknowledging both sides as valid and beautiful and part of your wholeness. I'm just going to leave it at that today. We'll see you again this week. Remember, I'm going to do some kind of solstice ceremony of some kind. Can't wait to see you for that. And thank you for joining me. If you like this video, please like it. It really does help. Subscribe so you get all the notifications, especially as we're coming into the high time of the year and this beautiful journey we're going to take together starting on the solstice. And I'm Stasia. Thanks for being here. I'll see you again soon. I love you, and namaste.